Hello there. My name's Tommy, and I'd like to welcome you into the Garbage Chute, the Star Wars show that isn't afraid to deep dive and get a little dirty as we dissect and reassemble a galaxy far, far away. But don't worry, we're not going to be doing that alone. Joining us in the Garbage Chute is a panel of experts to help us navigate the sometimes murky waters of the Star Wars fandom. Let's meet them now, shall we? So, what the heck? What is that face?
You said expert, and I was like, what?
You're an expert. Come on, you're an expert. Joining us from the Outer Rim territory of Boston, it's Daddy Louie.
Hello, children.
How you doing tonight?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good, thanks. I think you're not just going to load everybody in. What the heck?
There you go.
All right, joining us from parts that are known, but will remain unknown for their safety, we've got Miss V and Aaron. What's happening, guys?
Hello. Good to see everybody.
They are a husband and wife duo hell-bent on learning everything they possibly can about Star Wars and all things Star Warsy. Miss V, let's see that shirt because I think that's going to be a bit of foreshadowing for this evening's show.
Yes, it says, say something about the mother effing prequels, bitch. It is from an online store, a small business called Takodana Trader. Not a sponsor, but they are incredible. They have a lot of really, really cool Star Wars designs, and this is one of my favorites. So absolutely had to wear it tonight.
All right, well, great. We'll send them an invoice for that plug. And joining us from a really, really cool location, you are branded out.
I'm having a really fun time because I can hear everybody except Tommy.
Seriously?
I have nothing from Tommy's audio, but I hear everybody else great.
That's weird. I can hear him just fine.
Can everybody else hear me?
I'm just imagining how he was introducing me. That's all.
That's weird.
Well,
needless I'm having technical difficulties.
You might be. Needless to say, I sound incredible. So I think we'll just we need
I'll just relay. I'll relay everything.
I would try to do sign language. That would be really, really insulting for the hearing impaired. So I'm not going to do that at all.
We'll just repeat all of your questions as part of our answer so that Doug knows what's going on.
We are already off to a great start. Also, our frequent guest, Technical Difficulties, is here joining us, as always. And they've just taken away Doug. So that is great. We are absolutely off to the very, very best start. Looking over here. Live hears you. All right, that's great. Look at that. We've got the folks chiming in there. Welcome to the show, everyone. All right, so good Lord. Oh, wait, he's back. There he is.
And I hear you now.
Woo!
We did it.
All right. So the first thing we're going to do is let everybody know we are talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series. I need to figure out where I'm looking. I'm looking right there. So, of course, if you haven't seen the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, there will be spoilers. So if this is not your jam, then just stop right now because we're going to be spoiler heavy. But the point of this show is to take Obi-Wan Kenobi, regardless of where you're at in the fandom, whether you're an expert, whether you're a novice, whether you're brand new, you don't know what the difference between Star Trek and Star Wars. It's okay because we're going to help guide you through that. So no worries there. So first thing we're going to do, we need to do a brief recap on these 2 episodes. And I think that's going to be a Daddy Louie thing, right?
Yes.
All right,
brief is my middle name.
Yeah, it is. That's what she said.
All right, so Kenobi takes place 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, and we see a very broken and a very disconnected Obi-Wan on the planet of Tatooine overlooking Luke, who is currently with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. We don't see Aunt Beru, but we do see Uncle Owen quite a bit. The story also introduces quite a few new characters to the live-action universe. Most importantly, we meet the Grand Inquisitor and his little batch of people that follow him, to include who I believe will be a main character, which is the third sister. Revna, I think is what they called her, or something along those lines.
I think it's Reva.
And what?
Could be Reva.
Reva, maybe it was Reva. So essentially these 2 episodes, Leia is actually in it as a child, 10 years old, and she gets captured by some bounty hunters as a way to draw Obi-Wan out of hiding, which he does, and he travels to another planet to rescue her. And at the end of the second episode, we see the second sister kill the Grand Inquisitor. And Obi-Wan and Leia are able to flee. And then at the very, very end, we see Vader in a Bacta tank, is what I'm assuming that was. And that was a very quick synopsis.
I love that, because that is not what she said, but that's the quickest you've ever been.
Right. I left out a lot. I didn't go scene for scene.
But that's good, because we want people to experience the show. We want people to go watch it. And if you are into like getting a whole complete recap breakdown of the show, this might not be the place for you, because we're going to be doing some other things, and we're going to be connecting the dots basically. So whatever's going on in Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, we're going to try to connect the dots from that to the larger Star Wars canon. So maybe that's something that you're not really comfortable with right now, or maybe even as an expert Star Wars fan, maybe there's some things that you may have missed as well. So we are going to be doing the whole connecting the dots thing, right? Background stuff. And that's going to be Miss V and Aaron.
Yes. I love Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you don't know it, if there's one thing to know about me, it's that I love that character. I always have. Back in the days from when it was just the original trilogy and it was Alec Guinness's role by himself. And my love for that character has grown to the point where I married someone who I can very reasonably dress as Obi-Wan Kenobi at conventions. And, that's just a perk for me. No, but there is, for people who aren't very familiar with Star Wars, I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is a name that kind of just drifts into like normal conversations, like kind of how people who've never watched Star Wars still know who Darth Vader is, kind of a thing. Everyone's kind of heard of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but his story really has, it started with the original trilogy. We got a little bit more, obviously, in the prequels, a lot more in the prequels. And that was really expanded on in specifically the animated series, gave us a lot of a much deeper look into who he is as a character. So for those who are not very familiar, Obi-Wan Kenobi is a Jedi Knight. He, if I remember correctly, and Tommy, please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that he was not actually the most gifted of students and was actually almost removed from the Jedi Order until Qui-Gon took him under his wing, and Qui-Gon kind of gave him that second chance. So Obi-Wan had to study like 10 times as hard as the other Padawans and apprentices his age. And in doing so, he has become the master of his specific type of fighting style. He is one of the strongest Jedi out there now. But because of his studies, he's very, very dedicated to the Order. He took on Anakin Skywalker as his Padawan as a favor to his deceased master, Qui-Gon Jinn. He did not want Anakin as a Padawan at all. Anakin was basically everything that Obi-Wan didn't like when it came to the Order. Anakin was a little bit of chaos. He was kind of reckless, and Obi-Wan was very much about order. And we get to see how those two kind of start to balance each other out throughout their friendship. We see that in Star Wars Episode 2, the movie. We also see it a little bit in Episode 3, and it's really expanded on in the Clone Wars TV show. We get to see the fall of their friendship. That friendship puts it lightly. Their brotherhood, those two were, they were closer than brothers. I think that Anakin is one of two people that Obi-Wan ever really truly loved, like deeply in that way. Not necessarily in a romantic way, but Anakin definitely had part of his heart. And so the Obi-Wan that we're meeting now in the show is someone who has lost everything. He has lost everyone closest to him at this point. He is utterly alone. He does not even have his religious order to fall back on. And any part of him that would kind of fall back on that faith that he's had his whole life, that puts him in risk of dying. And so he really, really has nothing. And that is this character that we are meeting. And for those of you who might be a little bit more familiar with Obi-Wan, but want to learn more and maybe haven't dove into the animated series, you're going to obviously the Clone Wars is going to focus a lot on Kenobi, not so much Rebels. However, Star Wars Rebels does give you a lot of insight into the Inquisitors, specifically the Grand Inquisitor, who we do meet in the first 2 episodes. Another great way to learn about the Inquisitors is by playing Fallen Order if you are a video gamer, which Aaron is a big Rebels and Fallen Order fan, so I'll let him talk on that a little bit because I've gone on way too long.
Connecting, here's how I might connect the state of where Kenobi starts to the larger universe, which we've kind of taken for granted for a long time. Because all of the major movies, which any casual fan, which I can say I'm more casual than I am expert, but so I'm speaking for myself as well. We've always kind of taken, I think, for granted that there is a seed of hope. There's always a spark for the rebellion. And where we come in with Kenobi specifically now, and definitely at the end of Revenge of the Sith, is that the Jedi Order is broken. And now we're really seeing the fallout. Kenobi is really showing us where there is no hope, and it is extremely hard to find it. You see that build in the TV show Rebels, where a band of people really start that seed of the rebellion, which we then start to fight alongside in the original 3 movies. But I really like the period that we're in now because it's the part where the casual fan doesn't necessarily see. Yeah, we kind of know that the Jedi were a thing way back in the day, but now there's only a few famous names that we know now. Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original movies. So where did we get that? Like, how did the Jedi go into this place of extinction? That's what we're seeing now. The Inquisitors, these very skilled assassins dispatched by Darth Vader and the Emperor to kill the last that may have survived Order 66. And it's an extremely scary time. And you see that from Kenobi. You see it from other Force-sensitive people that Kenobi meets with. And it chills me. Like, it's the first time I've actually been spooked, like really like kind of scared out of my skin for how Kenobi might come out of this. And especially then seeing how he has zero hope, completely broken. Like he needs a dose of something in somebody to give him that spark back so that the rebellion can begin back up again and peace us out. But I like living right now in this place of fear. It's nice. I think it's fun.
Nice. Now, people that are new to this, we're talking about, really, we're going to start deep diving and really dissecting here in a moment. But, people that are new to the Star Wars galaxy, you touched on the video games, you touched on Rebels, where else, should people be going to really find out more about Obi-Wan? Because Ventus, you had mentioned, about, Obi-Wan being, he just made it. I mean, he just made it. Had Qui-Gon not really reached out and said, you know what? Yeah, I'll take this guy. I think it was, I don't know if it's canon or not, but it was in a young reader's novel. Obi-Wan was straight up on his way to the agricultural corps. He was going to be shipped off to he was going to grow plants. He was going to use the Force to grow plants. Like that was going to be his jam. But again, Obi-Wan, gets him out of that. So are there any like specific books or maybe like a specific story arc or, if people don't want to slog through, all of Clone Wars or Rebels or whatever, where can people really get, a good look at Obi-Wan Kenobi to maybe get more in touch to, the vibe that he's in right now? Because a lot of people are seeing him as being weak. And we know that that's not the case. He's not weak at all. But, some people might think he's just a broken old man as the way that, people are, seeing him now. Yeah. So where can people go to, get a little bit more insight on Obi-Wan other than Wikipedia or Wikipedia?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to learn everything textbook style, definitely like Wikipedia. But if you really want to watch something to learn about the character, the story arcs that first come to mind in the Clone Wars TV show is the Mortis saga. Gives a really, really cool insight between the relationship between Obi-Wan Anakin and Anakin's Padawan, Ahsoka Tano. Also, the storylines where Obi-Wan goes to Mandalore and interacts with Satine, who is someone he was very connected to when he was younger. I think those are the first.
He was connected, all right.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was that? We're not doing sign language. What was that about, Miss V?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Force was strong with that one. You know what I mean?
That's what she said.
Oh God. But those are the first ones that come to mind. I mean, again, I love the entire show, and there's like with a lot, the way that Clone Wars works is like there's within a season there might be the overarching arc of the season, and then 3 episodes might focus on this character, then 1 on this one. So it's really broken up. I will put together a full list of Clone Wars episodes, as well as any Rebels episodes, and I'll make sure I share that on our Facebook page.
Perfect.
Within the next 24 hours for sure, to get like a full list. But those are the big ones I can think of off the top of my head to specifically understand Kenobi. If you want to understand the Inquisitors, I believe season 1 of Rebels is where that is heavier of a focus, where we get to see the brothers and sisters of that order. There's also a Clone Wars episode arc. I believe it's with Anakin and Ahsoka. I'm not sure if Obi-Wan is there, where we actually discover that bounty hunters have been tasked to go out into the galaxy and find Force-sensitive infants and children and kidnap them under the guise of being Jedi to bring them to be trained as the Inquisitors by the Emperor. The Emperor had a lot of plans in place, so that story arc kind of shows you one of those plans. So there's a lot of little things here and there. But I would say base level, if I had to say the top 3 things to watch, is episodes 1, 2, and 3. Just start with the prequels and don't let anybody discourage you from watching them.
Ooh, bold words. Bold words. All right, we'll get into that. But you know what? Let's start this deep dive. And we're going to start off with Quailman. Hello. Do you prefer Quailman? Do you prefer Quailman, or can we call you Doug?
Or you can call me Doug. Call me anything but late to dinner.
Yikes. Oh, I see what you did there. All right. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, you are. So, Quailman. So, when we're talking about deep dives here, we're talking about things that, may have been overlooked. We're not going to pick apart the show and talk about specific things. Well, they did this wrong, or I didn't like the lighting in that scene, or whatever. Leia's ridiculously slow escape from grown-up bounty hunters. I don't know if we really need to get into all that. I mean, the people know. They, maybe she used the Force. I don't know, but maybe there's some things that you saw that popped out that maybe other people didn't see, or maybe they didn't make those connections. So one thing for me was one of the bounty hunters looked like a Faline, which was Prince Xizor's species, race, whatever. I thought that was kind of cool seeing them. So maybe we're going to see Prince Xizor at some point. Maybe. I don't know, but probably not. Anyway. Yes. Go.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more or less, I don't know if I'd call this a deep dive as much as it's maybe an Easter egg, but the toy that Obi-Wan gets from the Jawas in the first episode.
Oh yeah.
That we end up seeing Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first off, Owen throws it back at him. We don't want you, blah blah blah, whatever.
Sure.
But we see Luke with that toy on their journey in the first the first movie. So I thought that was like a really neat. Like I was like, oh, there we go. We also got more Jawa than I think I'm comfortable with anymore after Amy Sedaris. Like, I'm just going to throw that out there.
Wait, hold on. There.
Quite furry. Very furry.
Yeah.
I had to stop you there. Sorry.
I'm good. I'm good on Jawas for a while. Like, if we don't see any for the rest of the series, I'll be fine. But I thought that was really neat. I really, really love the representation within the Inquisitors. I think that there's some really nice balance between kind of the Grand Inquisitor and his trying to keep them under his thumb. Seeing Reva as a new character is really exciting. As far as I know, I didn't play all of Fallen Order. I'm probably about halfway through it. I should probably pick that back up and finish it, especially now there's a sequel coming out.
Just for the story value of it alone at this point.
Right. So yeah, I might even just like go story mode and just kind of rail that real quick. But overall, just if I'm not mistaken, Dayu was a new place to be seen in live action. It may have been covered in a book. I'm not as well read as I should be, but I don't recall it from any other live action or animated stuff. So I thought that was kind of neat.
It's nice getting off the screen, right?
Yeah, getting a nice clear glimpse of Alderaan before it becomes an asteroid field was really cool. I mean, we got to see a lot of the societal development of Alderaan. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice to know that Leia's cousin, unless he's off-world, he's going to get his. Yikes. I mean, he's going to get his. So one question I have for the group before we move on to the deep dive stuff. Does everyone in the galaxy, does everyone speak droid and Jawa? It just seems like every person we encounter speaks droid and Jawa fluently. And Wookiee. Well, no, there's a few people that don't speak Wookiee, but like Obi-Wan knows Jawa. I guess, 10 years living on Tatooine, I guess. Yeah. I guess that explains it, but I don't know. It's like, it's not Star Trek. There's no universal translators, but
they have a Duolingo for the Outer Rims. Every day, Kenobi is out there on his phone, or else the little Duolingo owl was threatening him.
I do think it's reasonable to believe that if you're living on Tatooine, you're doing business with Jawa at some point. Like that's a major part of their economy. So, it probably helps to learn Jawese. I made that up.
Jawese. Okay. They took the right languages during character creation. That's funny. All right. So, Daddy Lou.
Yeah.
Daddy Lou,
I just want to point out, like, infinite space and, all that other stuff. Why do we keep ending up on Tatooine? There's like five Jedi left in the whole universe, and 2 of them happen to be on Tatooine at the same time. Okay.
It probably wouldn't feel so egregious if, like, the entire Book of Boba Fett series hadn't also taken place on Tatooine. Like, at least there's a reason. Like, the original trilogy, like, started on Tatooine, so this kind of makes sense.
It was nice to see the show, like, leave Tatooine pretty early in the show. And I agree with Doug. It was really nice to see Alderaan because we really hadn't seen Alderaan before. So just getting, like, those really more intricate details of the buildings and stuff like that was pretty cool. As far as like Easter eggs and stuff, I'll be honest, they're, other than the T-16, what is it? The T-16 Skyhopper, which was the toy that that Obi-Wan had. And I also did notice the green alien that matches kind of the Zizor, which is from Shadows of the Empire, for those who don't know. Which is a non-canon, phenomenal Star Wars book.
It really is. Should have been a movie.
So good. If it would, I wish they would make a movie about that. But maybe some people didn't see it, but 3PO and R2 are in the very, very quick glances of them, kind of in the background of the party that the Organas were having on Alderaan. So I mean, as far as like deep dive Easter eggy type stuff, honestly, those were the only things that I noticed.
There were not so much an Easter egg, but maybe just more connecting the character. The main outfits that we see little Leia wearing, the little purplish number and then her green number, are definitely kind of callbacks to things that she has worn in the original trilogy, specifically her Endor outfit. And I cannot remember where she wore the other one, but they kind of connected some of her outfits to things she will eventually wear as an adult, which I thought was kind of cool from a costuming point of view.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they did a really nice job with, throwing things. And again, that's something that Star Wars, especially the TV series with, the different series, is they've really done a nice job of connecting us to old properties, you know, and we've talked about this before, you know, Star Wars is traditionally for kids, apart from the beheadings that happen all the time. But aside from the beheadings, Star Wars is usually very much, you know, the hero's journey, usually the young person's journey. So it's nice that as we're getting more Star Wars for a new generation, they don't forget about us. You know, they don't forget about, you know, the grown-ups who have, you know, had Star Wars in their lives for 20, 30, 40 years and 50 now, almost 50. Because I think it was
77.
45th anniversary of A New Hope. So yeah, 45 years. But they keep, I think that might be why we keep going back to Tatooine, because it's familiar. It feels almost like home. That is the Star Wars. That's your neighborhood. That's where you go. That's your safe neighborhood that you go to and you hang out. That's where all your friends live. And that's Tatooine. Some people kind of get sick of it, but you know, let's face it,
Jakku is Tatooine 2.0.
Yeah, no doubt. But you know, we also know sand gets everywhere, right?
Right.
I think someone called it out in the comments, and I probably should have had some notes written down, but the fact that they got John Williams to do the score for this show, is so incredible.
At the age of 90.
Right. But I mean, like, no one can play on a Star Wars theme the way John Williams can. And the one of the things from a deep dive perspective that really rang true to me is everything from not only the familiar scenery or the costumes, but like the atmosphere entirely set by that score felt like Star Wars. There was nothing felt disconnected. That was musically, it was just a journey that was really fulfilling for 2 hours.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Now that you mention that, when you watch Book of Boba or Mandalorian, it still feels Star Warsy, but it's not, you know, because it's not John, you know, and you know that it's not John.
Right.
The music is great for the Mandalorian and Boba. It was the same composer. I can't remember his name. It's all consonants, so I can't remember exactly his full name. But it's still amazing music, and it fits. It fits with the show, but you know, yeah, Doug, like you had said, and Utah had said in the comments that it just John nails it. I mean, I think he just wakes up. He doesn't even try anymore. He just wakes up and just like, no, let me go ahead and write a score for an entire TV series. It's fine.
We gotta get the button that automatically plays the clip of Ricky Bobby waking up and pissing excellence. That's John Williams.
I will get that. I will get that for next week. I promise you.
His music is just real quick. One cool thing about his music is he's made so many iconic Star Wars themes that, again, we are huge animated story fans, where every once in a while we'll see an Anakin Skywalker do something a little spicy, and you'll hear like the Imperial March just weaved into whatever music, and he does great. Those themes he's made are so iconic that you only have to hear like the first two notes. You're already like, oh, I know exactly how I'm supposed to feel.
You got it.
And who in the world doesn't know the Imperial March? Like, I mean, it's just
at this point, I agree. So, all right, I have a question for you. We're about to hit the 30-minute mark. Should we keep going or wrap it up? What do you guys want to do?
Wrap
it up?
No, let's go.
This is a wrap it up. This is
go.
This is wrap it up. So for all of you that are listening and not watching, there were some misused gestures here. All right. So we'll continue on with the deep dive if anybody, has anything else. But one thing I did want to address, we did end up seeing, which I thought was so very, very cool. We got to see a clone veteran. How amazing was that? And I'll tell you, speaking as a veteran, Louis, you as well, I felt that, I mean, I seriously felt that. It brought up a lot of questions. There were probably more questions than feelings, because I have so many questions. Who is he? What about his chip? What about the the age inhibitor stuff, or the accelerated aging stuff? But none of that matters anymore, I guess. But there's just so many. He looked like a 501st trooper.
Mm-hmm.
But then why were the other why did the other stormtroopers not do anything to help him out? They just kind of walk right past him. Mm-hmm. And also, what does that do now for certain things that may have been canon? I don't even know if they're canon anymore, because at one point Cody went on to be like a Master Chief Stormtrooper trainer. Yeah. And he had commented on how he didn't like the the humans because they just didn't fight as hard, or they weren't as good as clones. So did the Empire just say all clones out you go? Because for a long time we thought that there was like the massacre, there was just like all the clone troopers were wiped out and the Empire was disposing of them.
That is something that, and God forgive me, I'm not going to get my animated series straight. They touch on it a bit in Rebels with the recruiting of the stormtroopers and why that's a better idea. It's more affordable. They have people that want to fight and are not bred to fight, was kind of the angle they played. It was a terrible angle. The clone troopers are by far 50 times the badasses of the stormtroopers.
Oh, yeah.
But one of them you can keep under your thumb a little bit easier than the others. Then I think maybe that was Bad Batch. I don't remember. Anyway, all this stuff happened in the animated world. But they relegate the clone troopers to Ryloth. Like they just ship them all there to like keep order and wait till they like play out the end of their days. I think that's like the main thing that like there's no, to my knowledge, in the on-screen stuff, there's no like clone trooper massacre thing.
Yeah, I think the most that we've seen is actually in Bad Batch from that time period. We kind of see the start of them testing the phasing out of clone production and clone troopers. We see them using Crosshair as a trainer. Crosshair was for those who don't know, a clone who had a very sharp eye and was a really excellent sniper. We see him kind of become a leader of his own little battalion of stormtroopers. And I believe you're right, Tommy. I don't remember if it's canon or legends at this point either, but I do believe that idea of like the best of the best did become trainers of the first stormtroopers. Yep. And they kind of, if I'm correct, again, the legends canon kind of blurs together here because we haven't seen too much of it in the newly canon stuff. But I feel like it was kind of like one of those things where the clones kind of died off, phased out, and they just had no support and kind of were left to deal with
just do their thing
that they've done. And we're
thank you for your service. Take care and enjoy the rest of your life. And you see, societally, I'm sorry, real quick. Utah said it. So Ryloth has basically become the Florida of Star Wars. It's like this giant retirement community now.
Oh, that's terrible.
Like, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But well, it's just interesting to me societally. Like, we just fought this entire giant civil war with robots and clones, which I think to some extent let people keep the conflict at an arm's length, but it was very serious for the Senate and all that stuff. We all know what happened in the prequels. But then once the war's over, there's almost this like, it's not a reverence. It's not these are our veterans who saved the Republic and, forged the Empire. It's, they're skin robots, right? Like they're not looked at in that. There's no equality there. They're less than. They're subhuman to some extent, and we see that. We see that play out with a homeless clone trooper from the 501st on Dayu. We see that with Rex, Wolf, and McGregor wandering the wastes wherever the hell they were with that walker. I can't remember. But we see these guys that there's no VA system. There's no support. No. They went from being droid murdering machines to
they were heroes.
Mm-hmm.
They were very much heroes.
They were heroes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So do we think we're going to see more? We're going to see more of the clones?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, sorry. What's also interesting in that you kind of do learn in some of the shows is it's very easy for us to see the Jedi and the clones as the heroes. But one thing you kind of learn is that there are planets where they don't care about anything. For them, the Republic is just as bad as the Separatists. It doesn't matter what their motives are. They're coming in, they're building bases on our planet, they're blowing things up, they're using our resources for their means.
Right.
So for a lot of the galaxy, the clones weren't heroes. They were an occupying force. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't surprise me that on a planet like that's just clearly rife with criminal activity, that a clone would not be greeted with a hero's welcome. And I feel like a lot of places would be that. We kind of see Ahsoka start to realize that towards the end of the Clone Wars saga and her interactions with the Separatists, and her interactions with Rafa and I forget the other sister's name.
Trace.
Yeah, and we find out that these heroes that we have rooted for this whole time are heroes to pretty much just us, right. And they are just as bad as the
stormtroopers,
the droid, and because
yeah, you're right. You know, Serafina, I think she's dipping out for the night. Good night, Serafina. Thanks for joining us. This, I think, is going to bring us to your topic that you wanted to talk about tonight, V. Mm-hmm. Talking about, she says, I think Ewan was right. Now is the right time to tell this story because the critics of 2003 barely exist, and the kids who loved it grew up. She said, "Night, y'all. Night, Serafina." So, yeah, that's a good point because people were hating on the prequels. And then, I know. And then now there's a lot of love for Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. Talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was that kid. I was who the prequels are made for. I was 9 when Phantom Menace came out. I fell in love seeing Ewan McGregor for the first time. I gripped my dad by the arm and said, "Who is that?" He was like, what? But I was that kid who grew up. I had a picture of Padme Amidala in her queen getup on my wall. I loved Jar Jar Binks when I was a kid, and I loved the prequels. And as I got older, I kind of realized how clunky they are. You know, I feel like you can't love something without seeing its faults, but I've always loved it. And then with the expansion of the universe with Clone Wars and Rebels, it just made me fall in love with them all over again. And Ewan McGregor is right. The people that those movies were made for were kids, and we didn't have Twitter or social media or any way for us to raise our voices. So it was these critics who were kids when the originals came out who were speaking on behalf of everyone, even those whose voices they didn't represent. And so it's so wonderful now. I mean, Ewan McGregor, I feel like, as far as anyone who was in the prequels, kind of came out the most unscathed, because I think everyone kind of collectively agreed that his Obi-Wan was one of the best parts of the prequels, even if people didn't like it. But as we also know, anyone who has played Anakin in the prequels did not come out unscathed, with Jake Lloyd receiving just the absolute worst treatment, Hayden right behind him. And so for me specifically, I get like teared up almost every time I see a video of Hayden Christensen interacting with fans, and like the cheers that he was being greeted with at Star Wars Celebration this past weekend. And just seeing, because he was surrounded by people like me, the kids who now grew up and actually have a chance to see it. Aaron was never like a huge prequels fan. And I finally convinced him over the past couple of weeks to watch all of Clone Wars. And so he actually has some pretty interesting perspective on how he has a new appreciation for the prequels now as well.
I never hated the prequels, but I mean, I think I was old enough to feel like when Yoda started fighting his lightsaber, that was when they jumped the shark, maybe slightly. But I think it was only until I got older that I realized that the prequels did Kit Fisto real dirty.
They did him so bad.
Yeah, they did.
But I mean, the journey that you take with the characters through the Clone Wars series or any other books that you might find back there, that deepens the relationship that Anakin has with the rest of the world, that speaks a little bit better on his conflict as a Jedi based on who he is as a person, coming from a place of great pain. I mean, you're going to tell me that you can completely wipe away a slave's memory of being a slave and being under the thumb of a flying Jewish stereotype. And then, sorry, that might've been poor form, but but like just being a slave, and then you're gonna wipe away all that emotional memory and then become the most balanced human later in life. I don't think so. So there's a lot of pain in Anakin, and George Lucas never quite told that story so well, you know. Mm-hmm. And Clone Wars gives you that backstory, fleshes it out. I'm sure people can suggest plenty of books. I think somebody in the comments said Master and Apprentice. That sounds like it would do so well. But then the relationship that shows that Anakin can be more balanced in how he raises Ahsoka to be a better Jedi than I feel Obi-Wan trained Anakin to be, because Obi-Wan was so dogmatic. Anakin clearly is a little bit more flexible and has a little bit more common sense, I feel. And that's the story of Anakin that is so extremely exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
I feel like one of the way I've described the prequels for years, it is the best story told in the worst possible way. It is the story of a religious extremist order basically planting the seeds of their own demise due to extremism, hubris, and how dogmatic they were in believing that they were the absolute truth and that they were right, and a failure to listen. And we see how badly that kind of failure can affect. And it's such a great story. And Aaron, George Lucas just didn't really capture that at first, which, especially just without a lot of extra context at the time, because obviously now that those movies have come out, there's books that have been written in between, and we have TV shows. A lot of context went in to build that up, and you kind of have to watch it and read a lot between the lines. But you also it's interesting now, 20 some years out, all the little nuggets that come out that you kind of realize why they didn't do too well. I don't know if this was knowledge before, but I just learned it this past weekend. Apparently with Attack of the Clones, which I think is the clunkiest of the prequels, all of the original audio didn't work when they filmed the movie. So everything captured on mics, everything was unusable. So the entire movie, all the dialogue is ADR. And that's why it feels so stiff. It's because none of that dialogue came from those moments. It was all the actors in a voice room doing it. And so
having to lip sync to themselves.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
I'll say too, I mean, the Aaron perspective is similar to my journey. I was stoked when the prequels came out, and I loved episode 1, and I loved them as a kid. I think Revenge of the Sith was my senior year. And I joke occasionally that I'm a Gen Xer stuck in a millennial's body because, I don't know, we were poor growing up. I didn't know what a computer was until I got to college. So I came out with the weight of an original Star Wars fan, right? And what I think it boils down to now, after having the characters fleshed out more in the Clone Wars, the original trilogy did storytelling incredibly well. And it was technology that was unseen previously, right? The prequel trilogy did world building incredibly well. And part of it was they had less limitations, but they built this expansive galaxy and universe that was just so interesting, and all of the extra books and comics and things that came along with it helped aid that. And then when George kind of handed over the reins to Filoni, a guy with the same love we had for those characters was able to take the great world that was built and infuse it with spectacular character building. And now I can go back and watch the prequel. I literally just watched 2 of them in one night, a week and a half ago, because I had a night off for once in my life. And it was incredible. I want to watch those now. I find myself wanting to watch them more than the original trilogy. Not that I think they're better, but I think that they're just more entertaining. Is that weird? Is that bad to say? They're more entertaining. There, I said it. We're moving on.
Not at all, but it's like you had said, we're talking about world building. When A New Hope came out, that's what we got. It's here's the stuff, and it was more character driven than world and universe driven. But now, you know, because of the prequels and because of the sequels and because of, you know, the animated series and now the TV shows, you know, now we can really, really explore a galaxy far, far away and see the richness of it, you know, and I agree with you. I don't know if that would have happened without the prequels, because they really, really focused on varying worlds. You know, it's like, you know, George really wanted to get us off Tatooine and put us out there in the rest of the galaxy. And I think they did a great job doing that. And to V's point too, I think it's very interesting to see, you know, how much hate there was for Hayden back in the day as Vader. And now forget it. You know, Hayden and Ewan together.
I railed on Hayden being terrible for years. I'm an actor. I was like, what the hell? Now I love watching his performances. Like, it's ridiculous. And I can't wait to see more of him. I know we saw the back to tank, but like, to V's point, like, I'm basically in tears every TikTok I scroll through, and it's a Hayden Christensen interview.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for both of them.
I'm super excited to see how the kind of actor that Hayden Christensen actually is, without George Lucas picking and choosing this, that audio from this and that video and whatever. Yeah. So show me, Hayden, who you really are in Kenobi, even if you are a desiccated husk and just char burnt living in a robot body. Like, let me see what you can do. And I bet you anything, it's going to be far better.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Brent brings up a good point too. Let's not forget the hate for Ahsoka.
Don't talk about my girl Ahsoka like that.
Yeah, but a lot of people did when she first came out, and she was Snips. You know, she was just this annoying little youngling, but now she's one of the most beloved characters in Star Wars.
Nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. I don't know why, but that's the way it is.
100%.
5, 10, 15, 20 years later, we're going, no, that was really freaking great.
It was really good.
Being is based on that character.
Yep. I loved Solo. I thought Solo was a great movie, and I thought
Solo was a great movie.
Look at Louis. Look at Louis' face.
What? I like Solo.
Look at his. Oh, did you? Because I said that, and you're just like, oh god.
No, I was thinking in my head. You know, if everybody hated the prequels, when did the first prequel movie come out?
99.
99.
So it took how many years for people to like it?
I feel like it took. I mean, for people to like not be embarrassed to say they like it, I think is because I think there was a lot of us who really liked them right off the bat, and then. Yeah. Because again, Star Wars fans are absolutely terrifying when they hate something.
Rabid. Yeah.
If you go like, oh, I kind of like Phantom Menace. Well, the only good part of Phantom Menace was like the Duel of Fates and you know what I mean? It's like, and then like you don't want to say anymore. But I think that the age of online brashness of like, I don't give a fuck. I like the prequels. Like once that kind of attitude sort of took over.
It's the Star Bros. It's the Star Bros that ruin it for all the rest of the nerds.
Let's just say in this case, I would be a Star Bro. So let's be glad that Tommy doesn't allow us to do reactions on Into the Garbage.
Get out of here with your hot takes on the sequel trilogy.
Come on.
Oh no, I'm talking about Kenobi.
Oh, jeez.
I will say, as one thing that like. Everyone who's watched anything that we've done knows I don't have much love for the sequels, but I'm at that point where they weren't made for me, and I'm glad to see every little girl dressed up as Rey.
Oh yeah,
loves the movies. It makes me very happy. But as much as I wish they would have used the loophole in Rebels to make the sequels on an alternate timeline and then go back and give me the sequels that I wanted, damn it. I am very, very impressed with, and I bring this up because I saw someone mention midichlorians in the comments. I'm very impressed with Star Wars' dedication to not retconning like everything that people don't like, because it would be very easy for them to just like never mention midichlorians again. But we got that in Mandalorian, you know, and so they're really trying to connect it all together and make it be like, listen, it's all here. It's all canon. Shut up and watch it, you know? And I got to respect them for that.
And I'll tell you, if they start retconning things, then it's going to just be Star Trek. That's what Star Trek does. Star Trek retcons everything by shifting them into a different timeline, or there's some kind of spatial anomaly.
There was a potential retcon at the end of the second Kenobi episode with, spoiler alert, the death of the Grand Inquisitor that we know they did confirm is the same one from Rebels. So
he ain't dead. We know that. Sith are hard to kill. All right, we're running up on it. We got about 10 minutes left, and before we do, we've got our rating. Our whatever. We're gonna rate this episode, and we've got our predictions for next week. So that's coming up. Stick around for that. But before we hit that, this has been a huge online debate, especially on Twitter. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Is he weak? Has he become a wimp? Is it PTSD? What is it? People are saying that he is just, he is not being represented properly. This is not my Obi-Wan, but we are seeing a 10 years older Obi-Wan, or is he, when we see old Ben Kenobi, in A New Hope, he's very meek. He's very just kind of like pulled back. So is it Obi-Wan maintaining the mission, or has he gotten weak? Is he a softie now?
Can I take this one?
Yeah, take it.
All right.
You can, but I'm going to say something too.
Okay. I'll be quick then. So this is Obi-Wan who has disconnected himself from the Force to protect himself, which ultimately is protecting Luke. He is not as powerful as Yoda, for example. Yoda doesn't need to mask himself from the Force. He can kind of, blur himself out. Plus, the Emperor and Vader think that Yoda is dead. Vader knows that Obi-Wan is alive. And so Obi-Wan has to, and the Emperor knows that Obi-Wan is alive. And so Obi-Wan has to mask himself from the Force to protect Luke, because if he allows himself to use the Force, obviously the Inquisitors can feel the Force. They can feel all of that. So I don't think he's weak. I think he's just disconnected himself from the Force. And to another point, something that we find out at the very last second, basically, of the second episode, up until, that moment, for the last 10 years, Obi-Wan has believed that Anakin is dead. So his best friend, his brother, not only is he dead in his mind, he killed him, right? So he believes that Anakin is dead, and he is the reason that Anakin is dead. He believes that the reason that Anakin did what he did is because he failed him. So yes, of course he's going to have PTSD. Of course he's going to be sad. So I think it's a very solid combination of that PTSD as well as his disconnecting himself from the Force in order to protect himself, which ultimately is protecting Luke. I don't think he's weak at all.
All right, Doug, you had something to say too.
Well said.
Yeah, he's also not weak. I agree with everything Louis said. That was a lot of what I was going to say. But the main thing that I'm going to say is that any fucking star bro that wants to come at me with not my Luke Skywalker or not my Obi-Wan bullshit can suck a fat one. And here's why. Because people, beings, characters, we have to grow. We have to change. We have to do things that are interesting. Obi-Wan just went through the most traumatic thing of his entire life. He failed not only his apprentice, he failed the galaxy. He is fucking down, bruh. It's been 10 years. We know from Rebels, we know from other things, A New Hope, Dedoy, that he finds the Force again. He gets back into the mojo. But like, if we started off with Obi-Wan being this fucking, I'm a space wizard, nobody's going to want to watch that. He has to go through something. He's a human being.
He has to be broken to find a spark again.
That is, I started over the weekend reading the Ahsoka novel, which actually gives some really, really good insight into what it was like to be a Jedi who survived Order 66. I think that book takes place like 2 years or so after. And she talks about how, hoping and reaching out through the Force, hoping to find someone and feeling utterly alone, that the Force being something that has been a part of her since before she can even remember, she can no longer use all of these natural instincts she has to force them to become foreign to her. And that's what Kenobi has been doing for 10 years. He's alone. He cannot tap into who he has been his whole life because it could get him killed and therefore get Luke killed. He has no choice but to put all of his best strengths aside in order to survive. I think that makes him even stronger of a character. Like, if we want to say weak as in, yeah, he probably isn't going to be able to pick up a lightsaber like he did on Mustafar right off the bat. He might need a training montage or two to get back there, but like he is emotionally.
I want to see that.
Gonna need a montage.
You can do it.
I have a tiger playing in the background.
Yeah.
I want to see that. Yeah, definitely. We need a montage. Very good points all the way around. Very good points. So before we wrap, ratings. How do you V, we're going to go back to you. We're going to start off with you. We're going to do ratings and predictions for next week on a scale of 1 to 10. The way that we're doing this, we are looking at story, production value. How enjoyable was it? The level of accessibility for new fans and character preservation. How well was a character preserved in our minds and in the minds of canon? You don't need to break all that down, individually right now, but overall, episode 1, what are you giving it on a scale of 1 to 10 based on those criteria?
Personally, for me, I'm giving it a 10, and I'm not saying that it's a 10 because it's flawless. I don't believe that anything is flawless in that way, but it gave me exactly what I wanted as a Kenobi fan. I believe that this was my Obi-Wan Kenobi at 10 years post 66. I think that his journey and where he's at was realistic. There was no part that I was like, okay, like no over the top or like, what the hell is this? Like, I had none of those moments, which I really liked. I really, really enjoyed it. As far as accessibility goes, for those of you who I'm hoping everyone at this point has watched it, they did a great almost 3 to 5 minute recap of the prequel movies at the start of this episode.
That was great.
I also like, so I'm assuming that, everyone would have seen that if they hadn't watched the prequels. I think they did a really good job trying to recap, especially because I don't think a lot of people have gone back and watched the prequels as much as they should have. So I thought they did a really good job at that. Overall, I thought they presented something really, really good for the first 2 episodes. I'm really excited. As far as my predictions for the next episode, I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting to see Leia have such a strong presence. So I'm kind of like, I don't know where they're going to take this. I think we are going to see coming up probably some more interactions with Luke and Uncle Owen. We know that somehow he bridges that gap enough to give Luke that toy. And I think we're going to see some pretty interesting, maybe like protection methods taken out to keep Luke away from Vader. Because one thing we might also find out is maybe Vader finds out he has a son.
Maybe.
Maybe. We knows he knew that at some point.
All right. So you're giving episode 1 and 2 both a 10.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Doug. Oh, I'm sorry. Aaron. Is that like a collective? Is that how?
No, I have a different answer.
Okay.
I'm going 9 out of 10 for both.
You're sleeping alone tonight. Okay.
Which scene was, or wait a minute. Which episode was it with the chase scene? Was that 2? With where Leia was running away
from the parkour?
In episode 1?
No, I think the chase scene was 2.
Was it 2?
Okay.
Yeah, the very slow chase.
Episode 1, I'll give it 10. Episode 2, I would have given an 8 for that chase scene, but because of the mention of Purrgil from Bail Organa, saying just in how good a father he was, first and foremost, and also saying that he at one point would have wanted to go out in the galaxy and chase Purrgil, my favorite creature of the galaxy, it got a 9.
Nice. Very nice. What's your prediction for next week?
Oh, dude, I don't do predictions. I'm too dumb for that, dude. Like, everything is a surprise to me, and that's what keeps life interesting.
All right, fair enough. Doug, so rate episode 2 and give us your predictions for next week.
Yeah, episode 1, I would go with a 10 out of 10. I thought that we got a little bit of Leia, we got a little bit of Luke. We got Obi-Wan being a butcher, like some weird. I don't know. I loved it. I think the only thing, the Grand Inquisitor doesn't look great in live action. I'm hoping to see that beefed up with whatever. I don't know. Maybe he gets patched up or whatever. Anywho, the episode 2. I was honestly going to dock it for that chase scene too, but then someone, I think it might have been Louis in our chat, described it as a Three Ninjas moment. And I have a vast affinity in my heart for the Three Ninjas. So I'm giving episode 2 a 10 out of 10 because of the chase scene and the Three Ninjas, because of Vader, because of, the escape from Dayu. Like it was we have not mentioned enough. Oh my God. Estri, the con artist Jedi. We didn't talk about him at all. And that was an incredible character, and Kumail Nanjiani was incredible in doing so.
And perfect casting for that. Yeah,
no doubt.
So, anyways, that's a 10 out of 10. And for next week, I think we're going to see Obi-Wan light up his lightsaber for the first time. Well, I guess he lit it up inside. I think we're going to see him engage in some sort of maybe clumsy battle for the first time.
All right. Daddy Louie, what's your rating? And give us your prediction for next week. Oh, geez. He's going to be like, it's a 4.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I give both episodes a 4. I won't get into why, because
we don't have that kind of time right now.
That's too much.
So maybe we need to start next week with predictions or with ratings.
Prediction for next week. Not so much a prediction, but just what I want to see is I want to see them give us reasons to care about these new characters that they've introduced. Because they introduced a lot of new characters and didn't give us any reason to care about any of them in these first 2 episodes. And so I just want to see them elaborate on these new characters. And I want to see a connection between the younglings that escaped the temple in the opening scene to this third sister, because I feel like that's an obvious connection. We need to know why she hates Obi-Wan as much as she does. We need to know why she's trying to gain Vader's favor. And I think that the logical explanation is she was one of those younglings, and Vader maybe spared her, something along those lines. But again, this is the problem with Disney Plus shows, when they make shows that are about characters that already exist in a storyline somewhere. So it's not applicable to like The Mandalorian, where everything is new. Is they drip feed us this stuff. So it's like, you want me to care about this character, but you're going to make me wait a month and a half to see how that character fleshes out, instead of letting me experience all of it at once. So that's what I'd like to see. Is I'd like to see them do a better job of making us care about these new characters that they introduce.
So is that your prediction? Or is that your wish list?
That's the only, I don't have they need to take my wish list and they need to project that into my into predictions.
I'm pretty sure that they've already wrapped, so I don't know if it's going to happen just yet.
I can't force put that into effect. No.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Make sure that looks like Christina agrees with Louie.
Woo!
She's the only one. Thank you everyone for joining us this week in the Garbage Chute. We appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us. We are going to be back again on Friday. So we're going to be to talk about the new episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And of course, you can check us out all week long, circleofnerds.com and Circle of Nerds on every single social media platform. Daddy Louie, you've got a couple things going on in the intranet verse, don't you? What do you have going on? Was it Thursdays? Thursdays and Tuesdays?
Every Thursday over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Circle of Nerds. It's so tiny. That is my miniature. That is my miniature painting show over there, and I also stream twitch.tv/Play Renegade every other Monday, painting Power Rangers.
There you go. All right. Anybody got anything else?
I'm doing a little bit of a musical if you're in the Cleveland area. You
Oh, a little bit. Just a little thing.
CanePark.com. We're doing School of Rock the musical, which is why I look like I'm falling asleep while we're doing this. We've been hard at work. We got 13 really awesome kids, 4 of which are a live band every night. So,
and who's starring in that? Who stars in that?
There's this guy. He's kind of an asshole. I'm playing Dewey Finn. So I can get my Jack Black on and tell all the Star Bros to come over here and suck a fat.
Right. Awesome. Can't wait to see it. When is that going to be?
So that's June 9th through 26th. So check it out. CanePark.com. School of Rock the musical.
It's coming up.
Start behaving.
Right around the corner. All right.
Real soon.
All right. So Circle of Nerds, thank you guys for showing up and doing the thing. It was a lot of fun. For all of you who are listening, watching, joining us in the chat, thank you all so much for your participation. And I think that's it. Yeah. Is that it? I'm looking at, I've got like notes on like every different screen here. Yeah. Pimps, goodbyes, predictions for next week. All right. Yeah, we got it. We covered everything. So
and we only went 6 minutes over.
And we only went 6 minutes over, and that's probably my fault. 90% of that. Okay. I'll claim 5 minutes of that. 5 minutes and 30 seconds. I'll claim of that.
All right. I'll take the other 1 minute and 30 seconds from
actually no, Louis, I'm gonna go ahead and give you like 4 of the 5.
Whoa.
If anything, I think a cool 15 minutes are due to me just rambling. So
yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Well, by the time we're done with this, we're gonna be an hour and 30 minutes over.
You're right. All right, so we'll just wrap it up. All right. So as always, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. And remember, if no one does anything nice for you, do something nice to yourself. And we'll see you next week. Bye.